Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from Computergaga.com and number 3 in the series on a Power BI desktop introduction. And in this video we are going to look at how to build our data model and also how to create a simple date table. So on screen I have Power BI desktop open, and on the right hand side you can see the 3 tables that have been loaded into our model so far. I'm currently on the data view and you can see the D product table, which is not too much to look at. On the left, if I click on what is called the model view, we can see the 3 tables laid out as a kind of relationship view or a diagram view, whatever words you may know this kind of view as. Now I'm just going to drag subscribers into the middle here because that's our fact table, and I'll position my 2-dimension tables by the side of it, just to the right hand side here, and we need to create relationships between our tables. Now to begin with the dimension table for countries, they are connected by the country code. Every time we get a subscriber, that table contains the code of the country they're from, and then we have this lookup table which shows us the name of the country related to that code. Now if we click and drag from the country code from dimension table to the table for subscribers, it will automatically detect and create that relationship, a one-to-many relationship, because we could potentially and will hopefully have many subscribers from each country. We then have a similar situation with the product table. I want to click and drag the column known as package to the subscribers table where the related field is known as product there. I know that because of my understanding of the data, but I'm sure you could have guessed it wouldn't be price. That's not unique. Or in this example it actually is. But in the package, that is our free or our premium. So that's going to drag across and pick that up. So we have our relationships created. Now, one thing we are missing. We are missing a lookup table for a date. If we want to work on some kind of time intelligence and do some analytics that way, we need a date table so we can figure out how many subscribers per month, or how many in certain weeks or certain days of the week. We need this information. We have a date field in the subscribers table, but if we use that date field in our visualizations, then that's going to create date tables as we go, and that's going to clog up our model. So if we click on the modeling tab at the top, let me switch to data view first and then look to the modeling tab. The tabs can be contextual and change across the views. We have a new table button. Now we're going to create a new table, which is known as your date table, sometimes referred to as a calendar table. If I click on new table, we have to give our table a name. So I'm going to call it D-date, dimension table of date, equals. Now when we're typing in this formula bar at the top, things can get a little bit small and sometimes difficult to see. And in this video I'll try and zoom in so they're easier to view for yourself. But another lovely technique you may wish to do on your own personal version of Power BI desktop there that you're using is to hold down the control key on the mouse and scroll with your mouse wheel. Control and scroll in the mouse wheel will actually zoom in or out of that formula bar, making the text bigger and easier to see. So I can scroll way in, I can scroll way out to get something useful. And I'm going to leave it at that size there, but the fact that you can zoom in and it'll be clearer when you look at your brackets and your commas, like what is going on there, because it can get quite small, especially if you're working on a small screen. Now I'm going to use a DAX function called calendar here, which as I'm typing tells me this can return a table of a column with all the dates between the start date and end date. And what we need is a date table that has got every single date for every single year from our subscribers fact table. We need this for our time intelligence analytics to work correctly. Now, we're not going to get too intense with this stuff over the series this video. We're going to keep things quite simple because this is an introduction to this. And some of you watching this, it's aimed at those who are beginners. But we do need to get a table of all those results. Now, in this example, the data we're using, we only have 1 year. And I think that year is 2018. But I'm just trying to remember what year our fictional data's from. But it is only 1 year's worth of data. So we need every single date from the year of, I believe it's 2018. You see how it prompts me for a start date and an end date. So for the start date, I need the 1st of January 2018. The end date, the 31st of December 2018. But I want this to be able to work. We're going to use the idea that I want this to be able to work if I try and do the same thing next year, or if I try and load in data from the year after. So for the start date, I'm going to begin with a function called date. And then I'm going to put in my open bracket, so it prompts me for the year, month and date. And I guess I could type 2018, 1, for the start date, 1st of January 2018. But instead I'm going to use the year function right now to bring out the year from the data I have. So this could also apply, for the following year and the following year, etc. If I open bracket, it prompts me for that information, and I'll refer to the not the D-dates table, that's the one I'm using. I want the subscribers table. That's where the dates are. Open square bracket. Now you may be noticing here that as I'm typing, I'm not getting any lists come up. Typically, I would have seen my subscribers table come in my list. And that should have been a bit of an alert to me, to some kind of issue that may be happening right now. But let me persevere, because this is syntactically, I'm kind of writing okay here. I've not mistyped subscribers. I'm then going to refer to the date field, which is what it's called in that table. I can always expand the table on the right if I wasn't sure on that. Closing square bracket and a comma. A closing bracket before that for that year function. And then I have my comma. And just like in Excel, you see how this list below walks me through the function. So useful. I love it in Excel. I love it in Power Pivot. I love it in Power BI Desktop. Any help with formulas is always useful, no matter what level you may be at. The month is going to be 1, comma, the month is going to be 1. I'm going to close bracket for the date function. A comma brings me out of the start date argument into the end date argument, and I'm just going to copy this date function I've got and paste it over here and change it so that the month is 12 and the day is 31. 31st of December of that year is going to be the end. Close bracket on the end for the calendar function and pressing enter to run. And I have an error. I have an alert in my fields list on the right. I also have an alert underneath which you can hardly miss, and nothing happened, telling me that a single value from the column date from the table subscribers can't be determined, and then advises me to use an aggregation function such as min, max, count or sum. Now you see people doing this a lot because quite often people are working with multiple years worth of data and they need to find the earliest and the latest dates within the data they're using. Now I tried to be smart in thinking I've only got 1 year, don't I? So nice and easy. But it doesn't work like that. I will need to bring in some kind of aggregation function. So what I'm going to do is just before subscribers there, I'm going to put the min function in. One of the aggregations I can choose from. I could work with either min or max because I only have 1 year. But typically you'd see people use min here, so let's go for that for simplicity. It will make more sense to people reading it. and a close bracket on the end there. So find the minimum, the earliest date, then grab the year from the earliest date, and the date function will use that. Over here I'll do the same thing but using max. I repeat, min would work equally well in my example, but normally you see a max function here, and to make things easier in the eye, it makes sense. If this is the latest date, let's go for max. It just reads nicer. Make sure that closing bracket is there when I press enter. Hey, we are working now. Now we have a list of every single date in the year of 2018, or to say it more appropriately, although that's the case now, every single date from our data set, for every year in our data set. With that column selected, let me select it. From the modelling tab, I can now specify how I want it formatted. So I'm just going to select date. I'm not interested in doing any time stuff in this example. I'm then going to select what format I would like, and I just want a typical DDMMYYYY format there. So I'm going to select that. And now we're going to create just a few more columns for our data. So we have a new column button on the top. If I click on that button, next up what I would like is a month number. So this column's going to be called month number equals, and then I'm just going to select the month function, just like you get in Excel, and feed it the D-date table date column. Now I'm in the D-date table right now, so that may seem a little bit weird to refer to the table when I'm actually in the table. But this is quite common. It is a typical rule of thumb that when you're referring to a measure, and we'll talk about those in the next video, but when you're referring to a measure, that you just write the name of the measure. You don't have to mention the table name. But if you mention a field, you mention the name of the table and then the field. So although I'm referring to the date column literally next door to me, I'm still going to refer to the table that it's in. So it's D-date date. You can double click or tab that, closing bracket on the end, it's kind of jumped ahead of me there, and the month numbers are in. Okay, next column. This one is going to be month name. So when it comes to reporting, I'm more likely going to show the name and the month. So it's just April or November rather than 4 and 11. Although everybody understands what they are, it's just easier to show the name. It's what most people are going to want to read it as. So the month name for this, we're going to use a DAX function called format. This is the equivalent of a function called text in Excel, which I've produced videos for in the past and you might be familiar with. If you are, the good news, it's the same. The value I'm checking is the D-date table date field, comma. What about it? Like, how do you want it to look? Well, in these double quotes, I'm going to ask it to be in an MMM format. Show the month in a shorthand text format. 4 M's would show the whole month name. Close bracket and enter, and in they go. Now, what we now need to do this as, what we need to do is we need to tell the month name column to be sorted by the month number column. Because if I use the month name column in my visuals, which I will be doing, it won't sort them accurately. It will sort April to start with because it will do it in alphabetical order. Now when you use this kind of stuff in Excel, if you use month names either through formulas or through pivot tables, Excel understands it because there's the custom list both for days of the week and also for month names. But here it does not know that. So I'm going to, with the month name selected, choose sort by column and tell that column to be sorted by month number. And then we're going for another column. New column. This one is going to be for the week number. So I'm going to type week number. Miss my equals there, equals. And we're going to use a function called weekday. Once again, it's the same as it is in Excel, so any experience you have is beneficial here. It returns a number from 1 to 7 that identifies a day of the week. Now, if I want to perform some analytics to see which day of the week I tend to get the most subscribers, or which day of the week do I get the least, and what's the difference between them, if I want to know this stuff, I need this information in my date calendar, my date table. So weekday, it prompts me for the date. Let's go for D date. Here we go. And then a comma leads me on to return type. And can I resize that? Doesn't look like I can. But 1 through Sunday, or the second option is Monday is 1 through to 7 as Sunday. And that's what I'm going to have. Mondays are 1, Sundays are 7. Let me do that. Close bracket, enter. And now I have a week number which can be used. New column, I've got one more column here. This one is going to be the week number name. Just like with month, I'm more likely going to be happy reading it as a Wednesday or a Saturday as opposed to number 3 or number 6. Equals format. Open bracket, very similar to the month name here. D date, date column again, comma, same situation. I'm going to go for the 3 Ds here, just like I did with the month. Close bracket, enter. Now that's useful for our reporting. And then once again, I'm going to ask for week number name to be sorted by week number. Don't be confused by the alphabetical listing. Use the week number as the way that you order that. Okay, these are only the columns that I want. Now, typically in a date table, you may see people creating columns for the day number and for the year number, for quarters, fiscal quarters, week numbers of the year. It all depends what people are planning on using it for. Here, this is all I want. Keeping it simple, but you get the logic. You can create as many columns as you want here. One other thing I will need to do is mark this as a date table. This will stop Power BI Desktop creating these invisible date tables every time I use a date field in a visual. There's a button on the modeling tab to the right for it. Mark as date table. It will prompt me what column to use, and it's date. Oh, sorry, yeah, one to use. So I'm going to choose date here. That's the column from the date table, the first column. I click OK. That is confirmed. And if we switch back to our model view, there's our new table with our columns. Let's drag it into a position and drag between date to date or date to subscribers to set up another one-to-many relationship. We could have multiple subscribers on any given day from the date table. So our model is set up, ready to go. The next optional thing we could do before this video ends is you could choose to hide certain fields from the report view. So for example, the month number and the week number fields, which we use to set up the sorting for month name, week name. If we don't need those, I could right mouse click on a field and hide in report view, right click, hide in report view. You could do this for anything that you deem necessary in any of the tables. If you've got any key fields that you don't want to show, any measures that you don't want to show, and we'll talk about measures in the next video. You can even select a bunch at a time using the shift key. For now though, I'm hiding those two fields. I don't need them in the report view, so please don't clutter it with them when they're not necessary. If I switch to report view right now and look to my right, in the D date table, those two fields are not showing. Only the 3 that I asked for are shown. In the next video, we're going to start getting a little bit more involved with DAX. We did some DAX calculations here, but we need to start adding and counting and averaging and start getting some aggregations going ready for our visuals.